Welcome to Ecclesia Principles, a biblical strategy for believers to engage in God's design for government with Ray Eppard.
Hello, glad you could join us again today. We're looking at a lot of the prophecies. We won't be looking at all of them, but a lot of the prophecies about Christ and his coming, because it is the Christmas season. And I want to look at them in regard to what they say about Christ's relationship to governments. Now, with that, again, we so often miss it because in most of Christianity, that is relegated to the millennial reign of Christ when he comes back to the earth. But today I want to go to Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, and we will read that today. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. Now get this, and the government will be upon his shoulders, and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. It says that the government will be upon his shoulders. Immediately after saying, a child is born, a son is given, the government's on his shoulders. You see, the thing that we have to understand, the phase, if you would, of the reign of Christ that we're in right now. Everything, Psalms chapter 2 tells us that the governments, the nations, have already been given to Jesus. Matthew 28 says, all power has already been given to him in heaven and earth. But the phase that we're in right now is a phase of delegation. Yes, there are people running nations, but the authority to run those nations is a delegated authority from Christ. If you would, now there will still be delegated authority into eternity. We won't take time to get into that. But at the return of Christ, what he will do is he will remove those who are not submitting to him. You see, that's the whole judgment of the nations that he talks about in Matthew 24 and 25. You know, he'll put the sheep on the right and the goats on the left, and they're all before his throne. Well, he can't be talking about the entire world, all the people of the nations. He's talking about the leaders of the nations, because at that point he really talks to them about their policies, if you would. We don't generally think of Scripture and think about policy, but he said, if you've done it unto the least of these my brethren, you know, I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you visited me. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. So forth and so on. To the goats, he said, you didn't do that. And in both cases, when they said, well, you know, we didn't see you, he said, if you did it to the least of these my brethren. See, there are two groups that biblically would be the brethren of Jesus. If you would, we'll start historically. First is the Jewish people. They are physically his brethren, descendants of Abraham. And then secondly, he's called in Romans 8:29, the firstborn among many brethren spiritually. So if you would, the brethren of Jesus is the Israelites and the church. And he's basically talking to these national leaders about how they addressed those two groups, how they treated them. And to the leaders that treated them well, he said, enter into the kingdom. In other words, they get to go into the millennial reign. To the leaders that did not do it well, that did not do it unto the least of these his brethren, the Bible actually says they're immediately cast into hell. They don't continue living. They are just cast into hell at that point. And that's a pretty rough deal. Why? Because the government is already on his shoulders, and every nation and every government body is accountable to him. God bless you. See you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Ecclesia Principles with Ray Eppard. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook on our Ray Eppard pages. This program was brought to you by Victory Worship Center and World Outreach. Services Sunday 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, 200 Hammond Lane, Stanton, Virginia.